Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Tuesday, the 1st of October, and I'm joined for the second time this week by Chris Jack. How is it going, Chris?
Not too bad, Derek. How's yourself?
Yeah, all good. Can't complain. As you can see, folks, we've got a new intro video there. I'm not entirely sure on the music, I've got to say, Chris. I feel like my eardrums are getting absolutely battered in the morning. But let us know if you're a fan, folks, or if we need to change the music there. But good to be back on to talk all things Rangers, and lots to talk about. Interesting article on the website this morning from Joshua. I'd urge you all to go and check it out. The link is in the description below this video. He looks into the signing of Jefte, the Niels Koppen link, the clause, his contract, well, of course, on loan at Apoel Nicosia, and how Rangers came close to signing the Brazilian last January as well. It's a really interesting read. He also talks about how he has performed since arriving at Rangers as well. It's fair to say, Chris, we talked about him a little bit yesterday, but he and Barron, for me, stand out signings of the summer.
Definitely. You look at the number of players that did come into the club over the summer. Honestly, some of them, likes of Rami, being very late on in terms of the window. Casemiro being late on in terms of the window. I think they've made good starts to their Rangers career. But you look at that first batch, if you like, the guys that came in early on. I think when we were speaking about Conor Barron the other day there, we said that there was a real need for him to come in and just nail down a place and to come in, do his job properly and come in and make an immediate impact. I don't think that same pressure or that same expectation was there in terms of Jefte. People didn't really know that much about him. There were perhaps more, I think he had more room for leeway because you had the language issue. He was coming into a new country, settling into a new club. There was a lot more for him to take on board and to have to deal with than the likes of Conor Barron. Both of them, as you say, they are, for me, really comfortably the two best performers of the summer signings. And I think, as I said yesterday, I think Jefte is probably the more surprising one. I always had the belief, I liked Barron as a player, thought that signing made a lot of sense. I didn't really have that many doubts that he would come in and settle in quite quickly. Jefte, I say, we just had no idea. We didn't know how good he was going to be, didn't know what kind of impact he was going to have. I think, as Joshua mentions in that piece this morning, when Ridvan picked up the injury, when he was then ruled out for another prolonged period of time, people were maybe a bit worried, what's going to happen in that area. Does Robbie Fraser get his chance? Does the manager put his faith in Jefte? At that stage, he had played really impressively further forward, coming off the bench in the game in Kiev, and people maybe thought he's more suited to that wide left role further forward. But at left back, I think he's been really, really impressive. He offers Rangers a real threat going forward. He clearly covers the ground very quickly and really, really, really quick, really direct, and that causes teams problems. For all, you can have all the tricks and flicks in the world, but very few things scare opposition defenders more than just raw pace when they know no matter how much of a start they've got on you, you can still just burst right by them. And I think the last couple of games we've seen different sides of him. I thought at the weekend there he stayed perhaps be a bit wider. Rangers got a lot of their width against Hibs from the fullbacks. In other games, we've seen him driving from that left, driving centrally, coming into the middle of the pitch and picking up the ball in there. I think that shows his football intelligence. We've seen different sides of him, and again, I think as we've said over the last couple of weeks, touched on it with Stevie at the weekend as well. Even when Ridvan is fit, whether that's this weekend or the next couple of weeks, for me, he doesn't come straight back into the team. I think that's the biggest compliment that you can pay Jefte right now.
Yep, he's been really impressive, and long may it continue. So much so, as we touched on yesterday, Chris, I don't think Ridvan's a shoe-in to come straight back into the team once he returns from fitness. When he does, a few questions coming in. Neil with the point says, Derek, do you think Jefte would be a better winger? He can play there. He has played there for Apoel, wide left. You touched on there, Chris. I don't think I would have any concerns about that, whether Ridvan and Jefte can link up down that left-hand side for the prolonged period. It would be intriguing to see if the manager would look to accommodate the both of them. They're two quality players. I don't think Ridvan will be too happy playing second fiddle, albeit, I mean, he has been plagued by injury ever since he's arrived at the club, Chris. And this is an interesting point from Denzel. He says, will we sell Ridvan in the winter window? The funds are most definitely required. But what is he worth now? A player who can't stay fit? Well, there's not a window that goes by without Ridvan being linked with a move away. And I'd imagine that this coming January will be the same. But should Rangers look to cash in, do you think?
I think it's probably an easier decision now than it was 8 weeks or so ago, 10 weeks or so ago, because I think you looked at that left back situation in the summer, and Ridvan was clearly going to be the first choice in that area. That's not the case anymore. As I said, when he's back fit, the manager does actually have a real decision to make, and I think and I hope he would stick with Jefte because his form merits it. My concern with Ridvan has always been, is he able to get through the number of games that Rangers need him to? And that's not to say he has to play 55, 60 games if Rangers have another impressive European run. But can he get through 40, 45 over the course of a campaign? And we're now in his third season here, and we still have those doubts. He has just missed too much football. He picks up too many injuries, and ultimately Rangers can't afford, as we've seen in recent seasons, they can't afford to carry guys who are injury prone. I know there are different types of injuries, or they're all different ailments, if you like. But sometimes players just have that unfortunate knack of picking up things at regular intervals, and that just always seems to be the case with Ridvan. In terms of his value, I'm not sure what he would actually be worth now. Probably slightly less than he was in the summer, because again he's then picked up this injury. If you are a manager or a director of football, and you're looking at him, you say, well, I like what he can do. He's good on the ball. I like the way that he attacks. He's solid enough defensively. That's all great. But you're then asking the same questions that Rangers fans are asking of how regularly are we going to actually see him? How much football can he play? And how much is he then worth in a transfer to someone who on his day can be good, but it's how often do those days actually come around? So I would be surprised if he moved on in January, unless Rangers have someone lined up to come in as a ready-made replacement. But you do have to, I think, now have questions over his long-term place. As you mentioned there, he's not going to be happy playing second fiddle if both of them are fit. I think Jefte plays. He's not going to be happy not playing. He's had that situation behind Borna Barisic over the last couple of seasons. I don't think he'll want that situation again. So it may be the time comes where both parties think, actually, it's not really going to work out as expected. It's maybe best for club and player if he moves on. And in that situation, Rangers then just have to try and get their money back. But I think we're still a couple of months away from the window opening. But we know there will be reports in Turkey at some point that it will come back around. He will be linked, just because he's always linked with these type of moves. But I think if he was to move on, it's an easier decision for Rangers to make now, because Jefte has been as impressive so far.
Yeah, I think he's played 52 games there or thereabouts, Ridvan, since arriving from Besiktas a couple of seasons ago. I just haven't seen enough of him, unfortunately. And Jefte, touch wood, can stay on the pitch more often than Ridvan can. And yeah, let's just enjoy him while we can. I think he is destined to go all the way to the top as things go at this moment in time. But yeah, developing, and looks very much an accomplished left-sided defender. It's crazy to think he's only 20 as well, Chris. We bang on about Robbie Fraser, of course, I think is older than him, if I'm not mistaken, and about him sort of being a kid. And I mean, I've been saying that I would like to see Robbie Fraser given an opportunity, but Jefte at 20 shows you, I mean, he's got all the attributes of someone that's far, far more mature than what he is at this moment in time.
I think as Josh outlines in that piece on the site this morning, you have to give the scouting department, and also Neil Coppin, a bit of credit here. Rangers, they had to go in a different direction this summer. They had to try and shop in different markets. They had to look for a different profile of player. They had to bring the wage bill down, which they've managed to do. They had to bring the squad size down. They had to bring the wage bill down. And they had to kind of remodel that group, because squad had been mismanaged in the transfer market over the last couple of seasons. And players like Jefte, they're always going to be an acid test of it. Now, can you go and scout in different markets? Can you go and pick up a Brazilian from Cyprus that turns into be not just a successful Rangers player on the pitch, but one that you can then make a profit on? Now, I think it's 600 grand that Rangers paid for him. Josh outlines the structure of the deal in that piece, and you have to say right now it looks really, really good business from Rangers. Now, he might not go for £20 million, but not every player in a trading model has to go for £20 million. Rangers have to get better at bringing players in at a certain level and just making 4, 5, 6, 7 million on them. You do that often enough, that gives you a nice kitty to then take it up a level, and you can then sign players at the 2, 3 million price point, and then maybe turn them into your 10, 12, 15 million pound players. It's not a case of every guy has to come in for peanuts like Calvin Bassey and then be sold for transfer records. That's not going to happen. There is that middle ground that Rangers haven't operated in well enough. Jefte looks like he could be a success story in that regard. It is still early, still got a lot to learn, still got a lot to prove, still got things to hopefully win over the course of his Rangers career. But you can certainly see why Rangers were keen to get him in during the January transfer window. That didn't happen. You do wonder, when you look at how the second half of the season unfolded, Barisic had his troubles at left back, clearly short of options, of Fabio Silva having to play off that left hand side at times. Yeah. If Jefte had come in, would Rangers have won the league? Probably not, because there was issues in other areas of the side. But I think he would have had an impact in the second half of the campaign. Not to be, unfortunately, of course. But he has come in and been really impressive, and he looks the type of guy that you can say, well, that is the Rangers model. This is what we have to try and do more often.
Yes, let's get to a few of the comments. Cammy gets in touch, says Jefte at 20, that rhymed. Yep, absolutely. You can only say that until December, which is when he turns 21, Cammy. So, Bluebell tunes in from all the way from Masai Mara Safari Park in Kenya. So, good to have you tuning in on this Tuesday morning, or whatever time it is over there in Kenya, of course. Just stay in the vehicle if you can. Don't want you wandering around. And interesting point just off the back of Jefte. I said there, Robbie Fraser, Gary with the point, Fraser needs a loan or he's going down the same line as King. Think the fact that Cashin Weirjo came in against Malmo, thought he did really well on Thursday night. Where is he in the pecking order there, Chris? If he's not getting a game in front of a right back that's playing left back, then for me, I know he signed that new contract recently. I'd be knocking on the manager's door and saying, am I getting a chance this season? If not, then January time, I'd be asking for a loan move.
I think it's looking more and more likely that Robbie's long-term future does not lie at Ibrox. As you say, if you sign that contract and you know you're going to be third choice when the first two choices are then not available and you still don't get the chance, then I think that speaks volumes. For me, it was strange that he got that contract in the summer because you knew that Ridvan was going to play his share of games, not every game, unfortunately, as we've touched on. You clearly had faith in Jefte, having pursued him for as long and spent the money to get him in. Where was Robbie Fraser ever going to fit in? He was not going to get the number of games that he required to actually take his career on, to actually go and improve himself. The manager spoke about Thursday night not being the right chance or not being the right time to put him in, and being inexperienced at 21 or so. It's a very Scottish thing, a very Scottish football thing to say. you're 21. You're still a young boy. You're still young. But as you say, he's older than Jefte. Now, we had the same conversation when Malik Tillman was here talking about Alec Lowry. Look at what Tillman was doing at a young age. It's important how many years you've got behind you, but it's just as important how many games you've got behind you. Now, Jefte has reaping the benefits of having game time in Cyprus. Yes, it's only Cyprus, but it's still first team football, and he's clearly benefited from that, and that's allowed him to come in this season and really scoosh far ahead of Robbie Fraser in the pecking order. So Fraser is now not even third choice. Jefte, as we've touched on, is the first choice. So I think it would be best if he was to move on, ideally to a Premiership team, go and play as many minutes as you can in the second half of the season and try and prove yourself at that level. If you really, really impress, you then maybe get yourself a crack at Rangers next season. But even then, I think it's probably a tall order from him. Somebody the comment there mentioned Leon King, same thing for him. You just feel that Rangers' careers are kind of ebbing away from him. And when you make that breakthrough, unless you go and you make the breakthrough and then you really cement your place in the squad and in the team early on, the longer that period of, well, he's still young and still learning, the longer that goes on, the longer those excuses are still made for you. For me, the less and less likely it is that you're going to make that breakthrough on a sustained basis. Yeah, I think you can throw Adam Devine into that conversation as well. Yeah. It just feels like that generation, that crop of kids, all came through at roughly the same time. They all looked promising. They all thought, well, there could be something in there. For me, it's just their Rangers' careers are sliding away from them, and for the good of their careers, they have to move on. Cut your ties. It's difficult to leave a club like Rangers, but they have to do it. They have to go and play football somewhere else.
Yeah, totally agree. I wouldn't be looking at a team in the Premiership. I'd be sending them down south. Let them move away from home and home comforts. Get them down south, joining a League Two club, or I'm just thinking maybe one or two League One clubs might take a chance on them. But yeah, they've got to move for the sake of their careers. There's no point in them just kicking their heels on the sidelines. A few points. Robert says, "Who is Nana? Down here, that is a term of endearment for granny." Yes, it's Naratio Cashinwiro, Robert, and he was actually pressed on why they call him Nana after the game against Malmo, and he just says it's easier to say, so which I can't complain with the big man on that one. And William with the point on Jefte as we wrap up this point, he says, how long do you think we can keep Jefte if he keeps improving as he's doing now? Who knows? And we touched on it. I mean, the player trading model has to kick into action. Rangers need to start selling players at their peak value. So hopefully if Rangers can keep hold of him for, what would you say, a couple of seasons, hopefully he would improve a great deal. And then I'd imagine if he is developing as he is at the moment at this going rate, then I'm sure there'll be a queue of clubs that will be looking to prize him away. But yeah, let's try and keep hold of them for as long as possible at the moment, because he is doing the business. And day in the life just on Jefte, he's a man now, but the left back, he has to keep on the pitch, stop getting these silly yellow cards. A lot of them I felt have been very harsh, Chris. The Kiev one, I'm not even going to go into because it was an absolute race of a decision, and there needs to how that. I mean, I know that the rules, you can't overturn yellows. A rule has to be brought in that they can do that when a referee makes such a glaring error. But the ones domestically, I think, been a bit harsh, have they not?
I don't think it's a massive issue right now. If he ends up, obviously, if it turns into a situation where he picks up that many of them that he misses games, and that's clearly a problem for him and could be a problem for the team. But it might be something the manager has a quiet word over. But I don't think they'll be focusing too much on it. I don't think you can say that he's a dirty player. He's not. It's not as if he's not reckless. He's not flying into challenges that he's never going to win. There's a couple of them. I don't think it's that big a deal overall. But a point to keep an eye on. But I think that can maybe go in the negative side of it, but as we've discussed the last 20 minutes or so, the positive list on the other side that far outweighs it in terms of the start to his Rangers career.
Yep, absolutely. Big Phil says any news in Diamande? You actually answered this, Phil, after the game against who did Hibs. Yeah, I forgot all about Rangers played recently, which is a worry. And he should be available for Lyon. So, yeah, he picked up a bit of a knock on his knee, I think it was, a bang on his knee against Malmo. So they weren't risking him on Sunday, but it's not thought to be anything serious, and he should be back in contention for Lyon, which we move on to Lyon because it will be around before we know it. Press conference day is tomorrow. We'll hear from the manager about who is available and his thoughts ahead of that game. Lyon will be a step up from Malmo, Chris. They've got some class players in their ranks, and Rangers are going to have to be bang at it. It's going to take a real team effort on the park and in the stands as well to get through this hurdle. But in terms of team selection, can you foresee many changes to the team?
A European night back under floodlights at Ibrox. Yeah. It's all set up there for Rangers to go rise to the occasion, produce a performance, get a result. And if you could take 6 from 6 in terms of your first 2 games, with Stoya to come, I think that would put Rangers in a really strong position in this new league phase. I'm actually doing the talking point show with Stevie just after we finish up here, so that'll be out for members over the next couple of hours, and looking at the Europa League campaign as a whole, whether it's going to be a help to Rangers, whether it'll be a hindrance to Rangers, as the manager touched on post-match on Sunday, given the travel issues and how tired the players look. So we'll look a bit more in depth at the impact that European football will have. In terms of the squad for Thursday, I don't think the options are there to change it that drastically. You look at certainly that left-hand side. I think Ross McCausland played himself into the team with his goal in Malmo, and then probably played himself back out of it with a kind of low-key 45 against Hibs. So you'd imagine Bayrami starts on that side. Tierney, someone that we spoke about yesterday, again, see the comments on him this morning. There's just not a standout alternative on that side. He's not playing that well, but there's not a standout guy you can say, well, he's definitely knocking at the door. So I think he starts. Dessers, again, as we touched on, clearly comes in and leads the line. And an interview, incidentally, with Cyril on the site 10:30 tonight, looking back at that Malmo win and what it can do for the team spirit, what it can do for the progress that this squad is making. Really interesting to hear from him. So that's on the site later on. Apart from that, I think a lot of it picks itself. Back 4 picks itself on form. 4 clean sheets. Midfield, if Diomandé's fit, he comes back in. Raskin drops out. Conor Barron obviously plays, and I'd imagine Tom Lawrence gets the nod at number 10 as well. Again, on form, merits it. So I don't think there's that many options. We will have the same conversations about, can Sterling play right back, or should Casemiro play right back and Tav should be dropped? It's not going to happen. If the captain's fit, he's going to play. And I think the rest of the team is fairly straightforward to pick at present.
Yep. I mean, Lyon have had a bit of an iffy start to their league campaign. They were fortunate getting past Toulouse at the weekend, but they boast a number of quality players, namely Wilfried Zaha, who may be coming up against James Tavernier. What a player he is. They've got Ben Rama, Lacazette. They've also got the Argentinian left back Tagliafico. They've got Nemanja Matic as well. Whether these guys play, I know that he made a number of changes, the manager, for that game against Olympiacos. It remains to be seen. But yeah, they are littered with talent, and Rangers are going to have to be on it if they want to get a result. Of course, Rangers have never beaten Lyon at home. We all remember fondly that 3-0 win in the Champions League away. The most recent match, of course, was that 1-1 draw over there in Lyon. Scott Wright scoring an equaliser for Rangers in that famous Europa League campaign. And Chris, I was thinking about this last night. The last 2 campaigns Rangers have played Lyon, they've reached the final, so that could be a good omen.
We may as well just get booked up. I think it's Bilbao that the final is in, so may as well. Once I finish the video with Stevie, I'll get on Skyscanner. I'll get a couple of Airbnbs looked out. I'm sure Josh will happily sign us off, and we'll just go and book it now if there's good omens in the air, then that's good
Mm.
enough for me to just press on. Actually, when I was doing the notes for the show with Stevie, that we're going to record over the next hour or so, one of the points we discussed is that that 07-08 campaign, that, as you say, that remarkable win away from home. And at that stage, you thought Rangers definitely going to qualify. They had a great first couple of games on course to get through. Second half of that section didn't go as planned, and then a young man called Benzema turned up at Ibrox, and whatever happened to him.
Yeah, I was there that night. He was top class, but looking forward to the game on Thursday. Before we wrap up, big shout out. Corton Commando gets in touch. He says, "Morning, Bear. It's my boy's birthday. His name is Mitch. Big 14 today. Could you please wish him a happy birthday, Derek and Chris? He always watches the latest Rangers news." Yeah, absolutely. Happy birthday, Mitch. Hopefully you have a fantastic day. And thank you for tuning in to the show on a daily basis. It's very much appreciated. Just one for your diaries, folks. You may have seen yesterday the Rangers fixtures. The TV selections have been chosen. So Rangers taking on away to Aberdeen Wednesday, October the 30th, an 8 p.m. kickoff. That's on Sky. Rangers at home to Hearts. Sunday, November the 10th, 5 p.m. kickoff. That's on Premier Sports. Rangers away to St Johnstone, Sunday the 1st of December, 12 p.m. kickoff on Sky. And a trip to Dingwall on Sunday, December the 8th. That's also kicking off at 12, also on Sky. And Rangers taking on Dundee at Dens Park, Thursday, January the 9th. That game taking place at 8 p.m. That game will be shown on Sky as well. So dates for your diary, head over to the Rangers website, or even you can check out those dates over on our website, folks. So do go and check it out. Right, that'll do us there. Actually, those of you that are extra members, I'm hot-footing it off this video and speaking to a Leon podcasters. We'll go live just after 10. So if you want to join us on there, we'll get a bit of an insight into what we can expect on Thursday. But if you're not joining us, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we'll speak to you a little later on. Bye for now.